Today's lesson is called The King on a Cross. The scriptures are from John 19, verses 11 through 21 from the New King James Version. 11. Jesus answered, "You could have no power at all against me unless it had been given you from above. Therefore, the one who delivered me to you has the greater sin." When Jesus said the man who delivered him to Pilate was guiltier than Pilate, he was not excusing Pilate for his reaction to the political pressure placed on him. Pilate was responsible for his decision about Jesus, but Caiaphas and the other religious leaders were guilty of a greater sin because they had premeditated Jesus' death. The source is the Life Application Study Bible. 12. From then on, Pilate sought to release him, but the Jews cried out, saying, "If you let this man go, you are not Caesar's friend. Whoever makes himself a king speaks against Caesar." This veiled threat by the Jewish leaders pressured Pilate into allowing Jesus to be crucified. As a Roman governor of the area, Pilate was expected to keep the peace, because Rome could not afford to keep large numbers of troops in outlying regions. It maintained control by crushing rebellions immediately with brute force. Pilate was afraid that reports to Caesar of insurrection in his region would cost him his job and perhaps his life. When we face a tough decision, we can take the easy way out, or we can stand for what is right, regardless of the cost. If we know the good we ought to do and don't do it, we sin. See James 4, verse 17. The source is the Life Application Study Bible. 13. When Pilate heard that saying, he brought Jesus out and sat down in the judgment seat in a place called the Pavement, or Gabbatha. The stone pavement was part of the Tower of Antonia, bordering the northwest corner of the temple complex. The source is the Life Application Study Bible. 14. Now, it was the preparation day of the Passover, in about the 6th hour. And he said to the Jews, "Behold your king." This again raises the difficult chronological questions mentioned at John 18. Verse 28. John's point is nevertheless clear. The Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world, see John 1, verse 29, is ready for sacrifice at Passover. The source is enduringword.com. 15. But they cried out, "Away with him! Away with him! Crucify him!" Pilate said to them, "Shall I crucify your king? We have no king but Caesar." The Jewish leaders were so desperate to get rid of Jesus that, despite their intense hatred for Rome, they shouted, "We have no king but Caesar." How ironic that they feigned allegiance to Rome while rejecting their own Messiah. Their own words condemned them, for God was to be their only true king, and they had abandoned every trace of loyalty to him. The priests had truly lost their reason for existence. Instead of turning people to God, they claimed allegiance to Rome in order to kill their Messiah. The source is the Life Application Study Bible. 16. Then he delivered him to them to be crucified. Then they took Jesus and led him away. It appeared that Jesus was on trial before Pilate, but in an even greater sense, Pilate was on trial before Jesus. Pilate failed his test. In fear of the crowd, he sent a man he knew to be innocent to a tortured death. Thus, the ancient creed notes the Apostles' Creed. Jesus was crucified under Pontius Pilate. The source is enduringword.com. 17. And he, bearing his cross, went out to a place called the Place of a Skull, which is called in Hebrew Golgotha. This place called Golgotha, the skull, was a hill outside Jerusalem along a main road. Tradition says that the rock formation of the hill looked like a skull. Many were executed in this place so the Romans could use them as an example to the people who traveled along the road. The source is the Life Application Study Bible. 18, where they crucified him, and 2 others with him, one on either side and Jesus in the center. Crucifixion was a Roman form of execution. Those who were condemned would be forced to carry their crosses along a main road to their execution site as a warning to the people. Types of crosses and methods of crucifixion varied. Jesus was nailed to the cross. Some people were tied to theirs with ropes. Either way, death came by suffocation because the weight of the victim's body made breathing difficult as they lost strength. Crucifixion brought the hideously slow and painful death. The source is the Life Application Study Bible. 19 now. Pilate wrote a title and put it on the cross. And the writing was, "Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews." This sign was meant to be ironic. A king stripped nearly naked and executed in public view obviously lost his kingdom forever. But Jesus, who turns the world's wisdom upside down, was just coming into his kingdom. His death and resurrection would strike the death blow to Satan's rule and would establish Jesus' eternal authority over the earth. Few people reading the sign that bleak afternoon understood its real meaning, but the sign was absolutely true. All was not lost. Jesus was King of the Jews, as well as the Gentiles and the whole universe. The source is the Life Application Study Bible. 20. Then many of the Jews read this title, for the place was near the city. And it was written in Hebrew, Greek, and Latin. The sign was written in 3 languages. Hebrew for the native Jews, Latin for the Roman occupation forces, and Greek for foreigners and Jews visiting from other lands. Ironically, this sign, by virtue being written in multiple languages, declared that Jesus was Lord of all. The source is the Life Application Study Bible. 21. Therefore the chief priests said to Pilate, "Do not write the King of the Jews." But he said, "I am the King of the Jews." The religious leaders objected to Pilate's title. They felt it was false, because they did not believe that Jesus was the King of the Jews. They also believed it was demeaning, because it showed Rome's power to humiliate and torture even the King of the Jews. The source is enduringword.com. If you have not yet become a follower of Jesus Christ, ask God to reveal him to you. Search for Jesus at HaroldSwaney for the complete library of my Bible story videos. Thank you, and God bless.